Hi, everybody. This is Erica from In the Company of Cards. Welcome back. If you've been here before, welcome if you're new. I use cards called Lenormand, to divine events in our world. This is the book that I wrote. It's called The Language of Lenormand or Lenormand. You can find it anywhere books are sold. And, I took all of my skills as a teacher for 30 years of English and I applied them to the writing of this book because I wanted to put together something that would be friendly and warm and inviting as it taught you how to read the cards that I read. So there's a link under the video for how to get the book, how to get my deck. This is my deck that I created. It's called Erica's Lenormand of Hope. And there are links to the book, to the deck, to how to contact me for a private reading. All right. Oh, yeah. Like, share, subscribe. I'm supposed to say all that. Thank you. And hit the notification bell, and that way you can be notified every time I put up a video. I don't really have a schedule. I come on when, as my mother would say, when the spirit moves me to come on. And so if you hit that notification bell, you won't miss a video. Okay. Uh, so how about the fact that Pope Leo the 14th has Creole blood, which is to say that he has grandparents who, when they came here, they were classified as Black in the census. So we ended up getting a Black Pope after all, although I'm sure he doesn't identify as that. His brother apparently confirms that story. So he is a person of color, we'll just put it that way. Again, if you've not seen the movie Conclave, see that because that had a twist as well. And I feel like life is imitating art, sort of. And that was sort of a happy circumstance. All right. Um, on a less happy note, there are three things I thought that would be good to look at with the cards. The first one has to do with the fact that 47 extended an invitation to 54 white Afrikaner former landowners. And the land that they owned, we might as well call it what it was plantation type land. That land, of course, was confiscated by the government once apartheid ended. And so um, these poor Afrikaner white farmers are seen by 47 as worthy of refugee status. So he's jumped them over all kinds of hoops so that their designation is normally one that there are hoops that you have to jump, but they didn't have to jump through any of those hoops. We are sending airplanes for them. They will be brought on Sunday. They'll get on the planes, and on Monday they will arrive here and they'll land in Virginia, and then they will then disperse to various states. I am sure my own state of California will not be one of those states. Just saying. And what I would like to know is why did he do that? What is the message he wants to send? Now, it's not like I can't figure that out for myself, but I thought it would be only fair to let the cards explain for him what his intention was in allowing these 54 white South Africans, formerly of a very, having a very privileged status in their country till apartheid ended, um, to leapfrog over all the other immigrants who are being denied admission, who are being thrown out, um, and who legitimately can claim refugee status. So what's the message there? I wonder. All right, so I think what we'll do is we'll look in his brain. And so I'm going to use the card that I used for him. You see it up on my wall there. We'll use that older man card. That will stand for you know who. Okay, so let's see what we get. Why were these Afrikaners granted this special status, sort of an emergency? Oh, and will you look at that? It's the first card I turned over. What that means is that because it's the first card, it's not going to be where I intended for it to be, which is in the center. That also means that whatever the center card is will be really interesting. So that's the first card. So I just pull in order what I see. It's this incredibly cynical move on his part. So here he is being um, a, a jerk. One of the meanings of the bear is to be, overpowering, to be the narcissist. This is a narcissist move. Because why? What would a narcissist say? A narcissist would say something like, well, Erica, I don't understand. What's the problem? I mean, they're the minority in their country and their land was confiscated. And so, I don't see color, but wherever I find immigrants that I think are worthy, even if it does just so happen to be in South Africa, and the recipients of my largesse are the white land owning, used to be land owning, pretty much slave owning white Africans. What I don't understand. Like, well, what's the problem? That would be what a narcissist would say. So here he is. We've got two cards for him. So it's very clear he is the one who is at the helm of this decision. Now, remember, I always say what's ever in the center is critical. It's because he wants people to talk. First of all, it's a big FU to the immigrant population of our country, particularly the ones who are being abused. And it's a big FU to every Black American citizen. So it's to create buzz, to create talk. Remember, he's all about the sound bite, right? So that's what that is. But because he's a narcissist, I can mirror the fourth card with this second card. He will say, well, I mean, what's the problem? What's fair for one group should be fair for the other group. Why would I discriminate against these white people in South Africa? You all are being really unfair to white people, so I'm going to just even the balance the scale. Uh, he loves that he's doing this. He loves that it's got people in a lather. He's just not a good actor. What can I say? All right, I don't even want to pull any more cards. It's a narcissistic move, so he can go all wide-eyed and say, "What do you mean? What's wrong with what I did? I'm showing compassion by welcoming in these immigrants. What are you saying that you don't think that those immigrants should be here? I mean, is that nice? Well, you're saying what I'm saying. Some people shouldn't be here. And I get to be the decider of who gets to be here and who doesn't. And I want these white Afrikaners in here. My own personal theory, not that you asked, but I'm going to tell you anyway. His birthday is coming, June 14th. Apparently, that's the next big 50-51 protest day. And that's the day that he's going to have his little military parade. And because everybody else will be otherwise occupied, in other words, people will either be attending a 50-51 protest, or if they're Black, they will be minding their business and drinking their water. Who's going to come to his party, his birthday party? Well, now we know that there's at least 54 white South Afrikaners white Afrikaners from South Africa who will be invited to the party. So he'll have, people to watch him blow out his candles and ooh and ah over his tanks as they roll down the streets of DC. So that's my theory as to why. Anyway, all right. The second question I wanted to look at is the fact that Janine Piro has been the nominee to replace the one that 47 had to take down for DC U.S. Attorney, U.S. Attorney out of DC. Janine Piro is a Fox commentator. She's also, though, been a lawyer and she's been a judge. And in my opinion, over the years has gotten louder and shriller and cruder the more she has sort of spiraled down into this MAGA cesspool. So what I would like to know is whether the Senate will confirm her. She'll probably get through the House. I mean, she shouldn't, but she probably will. But this is a confirmation position. Uh, yeah, a position that needs confirmation. Will Janine Pirro be confirmed by the uh, Senate? Let's see. Okay. I will use the older woman for her. She's, I think, 73, something like that. But he will say that for an old broad, she looks like central casting, and we know he loves central casting. So, let's see. Will Janine Pirro be confirmed as U.S. Attorney? That's her. I think I'll pull a couple of clarifiers. Not necessarily on everything. Hmm. Okay, we have Clover, we have Young Man, we have Janine Pirro, we have You Know Who, and we have the Moon. So, he had to pull a rabbit out of his hat or wherever fast because his previous nominee was just all kinds of terrible. And to the point where a Republican senator, so was it senator? Yeah, Tom Tillis said, yeah, no, I'm not supporting him. So the nomination had to be withdrawn. So 47 had to quick, fast, and in a hurry come up with another name. Remember that he needs someone always who will be his attack dog. And this energy feels very, very aggressive and assertive and yang, which is exactly how Janine Pirro is towards him. Not towards him, but in his defense. In defense of him, she is rabid in defense of him. Here he is again. And, this is the card for identity, reputation, etc. He thinks that she'll get through because she does have a history. She's not unqualified, technically speaking, She has on paper all of the qualifications. So he thinks that she will be confirmed right away. He also thinks she'll be an attack dog for him. So I didn't pull clarifiers on Clover or the young man because that's sort of self-explanatory. But I pulled cards on Pirro herself. We have the bear, we have the whip, and we have the crossroads. Crossroads is just that she's the alternative to the guy that he had to withdraw. And in his eyes, she's a terrific alternative. Why? because she herself is a bully and her language is really aggressive. She's loud and she's aggressive, and really sort of take no prisoners ugly in defense and support of him. So he's like, you didn't like my other guy? Here's the alternative. Janine Piro. Okay, here he is. Clarifiers are the dog, the ship, and the scale. He thinks that having her there as his ally will mean that his takeover of the courts can move forward. We have the fifth card, which is the moon, and the clarifiers are the garden, bouquet, and the coffin. Now, she's a Fox News host, right? So that means that she fits that central casting criterion that he has, which is how Hegseth got in there. Uh, so, but she does have a reputation that has gotten her as far as it's gotten her. She was a lawyer, she was a judge, all of it. People know who she is. So he likes that. Uh, People will think twice about crossing him in DC because she's a known quantity. Now, this would be for her a reward, a gift, um, you know, but the final card is coffin. And it's making me think, God knows I also hope, that this nomination will be 86th, deep sixth, put under, and quickly. In other words, maybe it won't get out of the House. Maybe she won't even get to the Congress. I'm choosing to say, you know what? Let's draw some clarifiers on this coffin because remember, sometimes the coffin can be good. It's like transformation or something. I just want to draw some clarifiers on this coffin. Okay, so the clarifiers are the mice, the younger woman, and the anchor. I don't think this nomination is going to go forward. I think she's got a lot of skeletons in her closet, and I think that they will come out, and I think there will be a lot of objections to her. Again, not on the basis of her resume credentials, but uh, she's she's partisan. I mean, you're not supposed to be as partisan as she is in a job like that. But that's what he wants. So I do think there will be resistance. I think she will be seen by those who vote up or down as being as unpleasant and inappropriate as she actually is. And I'm going to take that coffin to mean that she doesn't get confirmation. Remember that the tide seems to be shifting against him. So where before people might have said, all right, we already scuttled the one nominee. That's not good if we scuttle another one. It'll look like we're being obstructionist, and that's not helpful. But I don't think that that's going to be the opinion now. I think he's made so many wild and crazy decisions that there will be people in the Congress who say, wait a minute, this is one of those decisions, and we're not voting for Janine Piro. She can stay on Fox. All right. Um, oh, maybe I have four questions. There is this big attempt to um, take the power of the judiciary and place it in the executive branch. Now, we do have the Supreme Court, to blame for that because they gave him, you know who, this unlimited power. But I think that now they are starting to regret that. And what I'd like to know is whether the court, the Supreme Court, will step up to limit 47's power over the judiciary. They've been making some noises. Sotomayor, of course, she's already on the right side, but Roberts himself, who I think is a little bit compromised, but has even said, no, the judiciary needs to be its own thing without people trying to, you know, um, seize power for a different branch, which is a not very veiled uh, comment about the fact that Roberts doesn't like what's going on. But how much does he not like it? How compromised is he? Is he as compromised as Alito and Thomas? Some people say he is, but there may be competing interests um, vying for Roberts's favor. He may be between a rock and a hard place. Uh, but 47's making the Supreme Court look bad, and he can't possibly like that. So I think I want to use the tower to stand for the court, and I'd like to know, will there be any, for example, will they amend the powers that they gave him? Because if they gave him to him, they can also take him away. I mean, they took Roe, right? So they can do it. Will they do it is the question. So we're going to look for the tower that will stand for the court. What will they do in relation to 47's attempt to siphon all their power away from them, the judicial branch, and put it into the executive? Okay, looking for the tower. Did I pass it? No. Okay, this is the Supreme Court. I'm just going to pull one clarifier each. Hmm. So the original line, I have the garden, scales, here's the court, the bouquet, and the heart. So I will say, just first off, that they would like for the public to see them as an equal branch, the legislative branch. Um, they also would like to be well thought of. But I don't really like these cards here. These are great cards, but it really does make me think that that it's more complicated than it appears to be. Because who's getting the gifts? Who has the favor? Why did they give up their power like that to him? Why did they do that? Like, what was in it for them? Like, in other words, I don't think they just gave their power to him to give their power to him. I think they were rewarded. Were they rewarded by, oh, I don't know, the people who are doing Project 2025? I suspect so. I think that there are there are favors that were given them in return for giving 47 more power over the judicial branch. So while these are great cards, I just think these are the goodies, whatever they got, to compromise the judiciary. Now, obviously, I'm talking about Alito, uh, Thomas, Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, and Roberts. So I drew just a couple of clarifiers. Uh, Here, in terms of the public, they want to keep the public pacified, thinking that all is well, that the judicial branch is operating as normal, nothing to see here, stay quiet. That's what they want. Don't be woke. Um, this is the branch itself, right? The judiciary, the laws, and they want to, they're being strong-armed. I think the court is being strong-armed by Project 2025. They are feeling a lot of pain, particularly Roberts. Well, particularly, obviously, the women on the court, including, by the way, handmaid Amy, because, she is a legal scholar. She understands what's going on here, and she doesn't love all of it. And she may surprise us, because the court is feeling pain. They're feeling pain, but not enough, I don't think, to do anything about it yet. What have they been gifted with? What have they been, I don't know, bribed with? Because look, the clarifier for the bouquet is the snake. This is not Kundalini energy. This is not transformation. This is a European system. It's got nothing to do with Kundalini energy. This is bad. This is, you know, the court being compromised, being rewarded for ceding power to the executive branch. This is what Project 2025 wants. They've wanted it for a long, long time, and now they're getting it. So I don't think that for the time being, we can hold out hope that the Supreme Court will yank back the power that they gave him. Not yet. They're not feeling the fierce urgency of now yet. And they have to do their own cost benefit analysis. Like, in other words, if we pull that power back from him, well, now we're going against what Project 2025 wants us to do. And does that mean that all the goodies will stop? And will they turn on us and identify us as being co-opted? They have, so anytime you do a bad thing, right? I guess you're going to be worried about being found out. So I think that for now, the bad guys on the court are feeling hamstrung between a rock and a hard place. All right. The last question that I want to look at. So I'm wearing what I call my prison shirt. So if I get hauled away from my YouTube channel, I'm dressed for the occasion. Because the last issue that I wanted to look at is the issue of habeas corpus. It's a writ. The habeas corpus writ says that American citizens, specific to American citizens, cannot be seized and detained. And on top of that, they can't be prohibited from having their day in court to see the evidence against them and to make a case for themselves. That's not allowed. You're not allowed to just throw somebody in jail for no reason. You have to have there has to be evidence, habeas corpus, meaning you have to have a body. If you're going to accuse somebody of murder, you need to have the body. That's kind of loosely what it means. Anyway, Stephen Miller was reminded that, habeas corpus is a thing. And so what's with this talk of throwing American citizens into prison without any cause and without due process? And he said, yeah, we're looking at that. In other words, they want um, to get rid of the writ of habeas corpus, which would mean, yeah, we can throw people in jail for whatever, and we don't have to tell them why. We don't have to give them their day in court. They can just stay there and rot. Now, I will say that with this writ of habeas corpus, here's the rub. There are two conditions under which habeas corpus is not applied or doesn't have to be applied. One is in the instance of invasion. So you know how that whole thing about Venezuela was invading us? Okay, that would be a rationale for throwing people in jail without due process. But the other scenario where the writ of habeas corpus theoretically could be ignored is in the case of rebellion. And just so you know, Abraham Lincoln suspended the writ of habeas corpus during the war because there was a rebellion, was there not? The southern states were rebelling. So, I guess what I would like to know is, and this would go along, of course, with martial law, right, where the military could come in and seize whoever and throw them wherever, and you never hear from them again. Uh, will will martial law be declared anytime between now and the end of the summer? That's a good thing to ask. Because the summer promises to be a hot one, and I'm not talking about temperature. It will heat up. Um, will martial law be declared? Will the writ of habeas corpus be suspended anytime between now and, let's say, August 31st? So now let's see, what do I want to use for that? Oh, we'll use the letter, and the letter will stand for the declaration of martial law. The letter will also stand for the suspension of um, habeas corpus. Okay, so this would be a declaration of martial law. Okay, so the cards that we have are the young man, coffin, the writ of, well, the declaration of martial law, the whip, and the bouquet. Hmm. This is that young bellicose energy of, MAGAs and incels and Proud Boys and South African refugees. That's all of that energy. Hmm. Hold on a minute. I want to look at them on the table. I do think things are going to get violent this summer. And I'm not the first reader to say that. This is the card for that, for violence. One of the cards for violence. Instigated, here's the clarifier by, you know who. But I'm looking at that coffin and trying to figure out, is it a good one or is it a bad one? So here's the coffin. Clarifier is the tower. And for me, oh, yeah, I mean, I think there will be an attempt to do that, to declare martial law, which would kind of bring everything to a halt. This is the card here for government. I don't see this as the Supreme Court. I see this as government calling everything to a halt. Um, this is the declaration. And of course, he wants to do it because he wants everybody to know he's the BMOC, the big man on campus, and he can do whatever he wants. Again, here he is instigating it. But what's interesting is these last two cards. We have the bouquet clarified by the woman. I might draw another clarifier. Yeah. So, he's dying to do it, right? Put all the black people wherever he wants to put us. Uganda, Somalia, wherever he wants to put back to wherever we came from. That's what he'd like to do. But I think there will be an objection. In other words, I think even if he does do it, I think it'll be short-lived. I mean, I can't help but think that this is a Supreme Court justice or all the women on the court. Because if all the women on the court vote one way, that would be good, including Amy. Um, this is a slow card, slowing him down. But I also think his health is not going to be great. This is him in his narcissistic garb. And the last clarifier is the snake. I mean, here's what I think. I think it could get ugly, yes. But I think that the ugly ones will be these incel, proud boy, Afrikaner, MAGA people. So, I mean, if anybody needs to be thrown in jail without a writ of habeas corpus, it's not our side, it's that side. And of course, that's not the people that he wants to incarcerate. So that's a problem for him. When the bad guys are your guys and the ones causing the havoc in the nation are your guys, then what do you do? 47. So I just think that the summer will be, as I said, a hot one. Tempers will flare, but I think our side is probably more disciplined than their side. But remember, with these tariffs uh, going into effect, and maybe that'll be the last thing I look at. With these tariffs going into effect, apparently in a couple of weeks, we're going to start to see shelves look like they did during COVID, meaning, you know, there'll be empty space on shelves. And, there's a lot of things going on, right, that people are not happy with. But the diehards are the diehards, the diehard MAGAs. I don't know what it would take to get them um, to see reality. Will the tariffs turn the tide against him this summer? Let's use the letter again for the tariffs. Will the tariffs turn the tide so that the revolution ends up being not just us, but people who were on the other side and are saying, wait a minute, I can't find what I'm looking for. I can't afford what I'm looking for. Um, let's just see what the tariffs will do this summer. We'll use the letter again, this time for tariffs. I know this is sort of me musing here. It's a little bit less focused than usual, but all right, so this is going to be the tariffs. Yeah. Um, we have the woman, we have the book, we have the letter, we have the mountain, and we have the bouquet. You know, the bouquet, this whole reading has felt not great to me. Usually it's a really good card, but I have felt the whole time as though it's like the gift as he would perceive it to be, the gift coming to him. Uh, so here's what I think. I think these are the women justices. I think these are women, period. Um, and, you know, the book is about things that we don't know. Well, what do we not know? I think that people do not realize how onerous the effect of these tariffs is going to be. I don't think people realize it. Next card is the tariffs, and it's going to block whatever it is he wants to do. You know, if the brass ring for him is being the, I don't know, American Hitler, the American Putin, the American Genghis Khan, the American Caesar, the way he's handling this tariff situation blocks his blessing. I think people will turn against him, and I think it'll happen this summer. So if he ends up calling martial law, he's going to be calling it on more than just us. Um, yeah. Oh, I should have let you watch while I pulled. I got, my God, I got discombobulated. But look, okay. So this is the mountain, and I'm saying that he will not get what he wants out of this whole situation. Clarifiers for this are the tower, the ship, and the key. I think what will happen is that people will finally say, stop it. Who's the people that are going to say that? The Congress are going to say, okay, we're going to impeach your ass. Stop. Um, it'll be the thing that we need to move forward, the key, the answer. But what freaked me out more is the cards that I pulled as clarifiers for this. Remember, I kept saying the whole reading, this feels like the prize that he wants, which is control over all of us and all Black people buried 6 feet under. Well, mm, it's one of those boomerang prizes. Um, Australia, you know what a boomerang is, so you can you can vouch for me on this. A boomerang is something that you throw it and it comes back at you. Look at this. This gift that he wants so badly, which is the ruination of all of us. Mm-mm. It boomerangs on who? Him. I think this summer will be his undoing. And it could be literal if you know what I mean, YouTube. If you know what I mean, you see what we're looking at. A coffin and a cross. This is unaliving, however that happens. Could be natural, could be not. And this is pain. And it's not our pain. It's you know whose pain, because he doesn't get the brass ring. So I think the summer will be pivotal. Uh, and like I always say, darkness spends the night. It's going to be a dark time with these tariffs, but joy comes in the morning. Mm. Joy will come in the morning. I think this summer will be his undoing. Um, amen. May that be the case. All right, you all. I may be back tomorrow. I don't know. I'm not sure yet. But anyway, have a great beginning of your weekend and happy Friday. Take care.